Sit down, darling. Let's talk design. I'm Eleanor Schrader. I'm a design historian.
And I'm Ian Patrick. I'm an interior designer. The topic that we're going to handle this week, I think, is going to have to be French Rococo.
Pink and blues and chinoiserie and jewels.
Yes, pink and blue and chinoiserie and mistresses and kings that couldn't keep it in their pants and the wives that were more than happy to get it off of them. Of course, the mistress du jour of the time is Madame de Pompadour, and she really is such a great symbol of the woman behind the king or the power behind the throne. Louis XV, who is the current monarch of this period, married kind of a dull Polak named Marie Felice. And with her, he sired 11 children. But without her, he had a great time with Madame de Pompadour, who is single-handedly responsible for gutting and remodeling Versailles and installing the all-important toilet and bathtub configuration.
Oh, thank goodness, because all those orange trees were just starting to make my sinuses run.
They were, but you wouldn't have scurvy. You know, we can make all the stinky French people jokes that we want, but truth be told, they were very clean people. You know, everybody's got their limit, and everyone reached it at some point. But Madame de Pompadour really ruled the roost as far as art and design. She was a patroness of the arts. She funded Voltaire and Boucher and other great poets, playwrights, and artists of the period.
And because those pretty little cabriole legs that she had on her furniture.
Yes. She was responsible also for changing the aesthetic of the period. We're coming from the gilded, overdone, heavy Baroque and veering into this very light, very feminine, very sexual, and very feminine. Did I say feminine already? I said it twice. Well, that's because it's twice as feminine as it was before. This very different and free and liberated style of design, going from gilding to the beauty of the actual wood itself, using veneers and using beautiful, creating beautiful pictures in wood, which we call parquetry or marquetry.
When they had those really fun little parties in their beds.
They did. They had these little tete-a-tete parties because this was a time of great intimacy. You wanted to be with your friends. You wanted to have little game nights and gambling parties into the wee hours of the morning. And
we couldn't talk to each other unless we talked in rhyme.
That's true, too.
It was like Rococo Rap.
Right. Or those secret languages that twins develop, or those African tribes that click. We
do that.
We do that? More like dolphins, though. But especially when you get you in the water. So it was a very frivolous, fun-loving time. Also, as I said, the furniture was changing. We're getting into this very light serpentine leg that's called the cabriole leg. It's very elegant and long and feminine and very sexy. Cabriole? Is it the Volkswagen?
No, that's the cabriolet.
Oh.
No, it's goat sleep. Because just like a little kid,
oh, right,
a happy little bouncing around. That's why it's called cabriole, goat sleep.
Okay, well, speaking of happy and bouncing around, that must be why Madame de Pompadour liked it so much, because that's all she did all day.
Ian, do you know that Louis XV had another mistress?
I did. He actually had dozens,
oh,
didn't he? Because he was a randy old man. But what was the other one?
Madame du Barry. Do you know what happened to her?
Well, what happened to everybody?
Well,
we're fast-forwarding a little bit.
Well, we had to escape to other parts as long as you did not want to fall under the axe or the guillotine.
During the French Revolution.
During the French Revolution. And so she escaped for a little while, but she forgot her diamonds and came back. And they guillotined her for being a friend of the state. For being an associate. That's right. So make sure you take your diamonds with you.
Well, I do. I put them in every orifice I can
I know you do. I know.
And I'm surprised that Madame du Barry would even forget that, because she loved her jewels so much. She would have them sewn into her clothes. And she would amass these incredible gambling debts. And whenever one of her collectors would come to call, she'd just literally rip a piece of her garment off and toss it on the table and be about her merry way. She also loved to combine her jewels because at the time the trend was to wear all diamonds or all rubies, but she loved them so much she'd wear them all at one time. So she was really quite a character just as much as Madame de Pompadour was, although unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately for Madame de Barry, Madame de Pompadour died quite young. She died in her early 40s, so the king needed a new horse to ride into town, and Madame de Barry was the cream that came to the top. So that was our next sort of foray into the mistress. Also, Louis XV built all those little Trianons for all of his ladies, and those are still on site at Versailles. You can still visit them. So he built all of his mistresses, these beautiful little Trianons, which are little villa cottages on the grounds of Versailles, and they were reached by a private little road with a private gate, and it was very secretive, and again, going along with that Rococo idea of privacy and intimacy. And which one did, later Marie Antoinette liked one, but I'm not sure which one it was. Was it Madame de Barry's or Madame de Pompadour's?
It was Madame de Pompadour's, and it was Petit Trianon that that Marie Antoinette had taken over, and it was Via Trianon that was built for, I believe, a cousin of Louis XV's, if my memory serves me correctly, that Elsie de Wolfe took over.
Later, and Elsie is probably a whole other little segue of ours, and we do love the segue.
There's a whole bunch of these little Trianons built all around the grounds of Versailles.
Yeah, and they were sort of built as escapes from Versailles because, as we mentioned in our French Baroque talk, Versailles was built as a city, basically to keep all of the nobility in check and under the king's thumb. So it probably got to be quite a lot of responsibility staying in the palace at all times. So going out to a little country cottage would have been a nice little relief, and especially if you were going there with a lover or five and looking for a long holiday weekend. Another arrival that came during the French Rococo, in addition to the cabriole, in addition to the lightening up in general of furniture, was the bombe chest.
My favorite.
Right? And being kind of myopic, narrow-minded Westerners, we've taken the French word and sort of bastardized it to make it our own. So the bombe chest we may know as a Bombay chest, as in Bombay, India, where you can get a nice curry. But what we're talking about is B-O-M-B-E, which in French means, with a little accent, which in French means rounded. So if you think about these chests, they have kind of a rounded appeal to them, rather than these rigid rectilinear pieces we've seen historically. So the bombe chest evolves during this period of time, and we turn it into Bombay. That's another piece that arrives that's quite unique.
And there's some wonderful ones at the Getty.
Again, wonderful ones at the Getty. Wonderful ones also, where else are some other good ones?
At the Frick collection.
At the Frick in New York, yes, that one's beautiful.
And at the Wallace collection.
In the UK.
That's right.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.